In this video, I will discuss the Nephilim. The majority of the information that we have concerning the Nephilim comes from the first book of Enoch. There is also limited information of the Nephilim given in the biblical books of Genesis and Numbers, and they are discussed in the Gospels. In this video, I will reference the complete books of Enoch by Dr. A. Nyland, copyright 2010. Let's get started. In the Bible, the Nephilim are first mentioned in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 4, which states, "And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown." In Genesis 6:4, the word giants is translated as Nephil in Hebrew, with Nephilim being the plural of the word. From this scripture, we see that the Nephilim are the offspring of the union of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Now, let's move on to the book of Enoch. I will read from pages 13 and 14 and also place the words on the screen. "It happened after the humans had multiplied, that in those times daughters were born to them, and they were attractive and beautiful. When the angels, the inhabitants of heaven, saw them, they lusted after them and said to each other, Come on, let's choose consorts for ourselves from the humans, and let's produce children." This text shines a little more light on the phrase sons of God used in Genesis chapter 6. We see that the sons of God are said to be angels who were inhabitants of heaven. They chose to dwell on earth, take human wives, and to produce children with them. The offspring produced from this union are known as the Nephilim. Let's move on to page 20 of the book of Enoch, which states, "The women got pregnant and gave birth to Nephilim, whose height was 300 cubits. They consumed everything humans produced. When the humans could no longer sustain them, they turned against them in order to consume them. They began to do wrong against birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish, and to eat each other's flesh, and to drink their blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones." This text provides us with a lot of very important information regarding the Nephilim. First, let's start with height. 300 cubits translates to 450 feet. The Nephilim of this time had a height of 450 feet. These were extremely tall entities. It also tells us that they consumed everything that humans produced and then turned on them. They were also against one another and were cannibals, eating one another's flesh and drinking blood. This text gives us insight into the nature of the Nephilim and provides us a glimpse into what life may have been like during that time. One can only imagine the levels of violence and horror that existed when the Nephilim walked upon the earth in fleshly bodies. Of course, we know that God put an end to this violence when He sent the flood during the time of Noah, and that He also judged both the angels who reproduced with human women and their offspring, the Nephilim. The book of Enoch records the following on page 34. The Lord said to Gabriel, "Go to the bastards, to the reprobates, to the offspring of immorality, and destroy them, the offspring of the watchers from among the humans, and send them against one another, so that they will perish by killing one another, for they will not live long lives. No request their fathers make of you will be granted on their behalf. They wish to live eternally, but each one of them will live for 500 years." This text shows us what the Lord thinks of the Nephilim. A very interesting title given to the Nephilim in this text is that they are the offspring of immorality. It was never God's will that spiritual beings reproduce with earthly beings. For this reason, the Lord calls them reprobates, because they are rejected by Him. They were not accepted by God because their very existence was outside of the will of God. This text provides us with a very important lesson, which is that anything that is outside of the will of God will be rejected by Him, and that no amount of request a person makes will be granted. Jesus stated it this way in Matthew 7:21. "Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven." And in the Lord's Prayer, Jesus teaches us to pray that the Father's will is done. These scriptures teach us that to enter into the kingdom of heaven, you must be willing to obey the will of God. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I will continue the teaching on the Nephilim in a separate video. Thank you for watching.